So the Minnesota Vikings, a team that has been it's been a team that's been really hard for me to grade throughout the season. Before the season started, I said they were going to get the number 2 seed. Looking pretty good right now. I said they're going to win their division, obviously, with them winning number 2 seed. But I did not see them going into Buffalo and beating the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Kirk Cousins, 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins, 30 of 50, 357 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, QBR of 34, pass rating of 71. Not his best game. By no means was it his best game. Dalvin Cook, 14 carries, 119 yards. Justin Jefferson, man. Justin Jefferson might just be the best wide receiver in football. Dolphins fan. I love Tyreek Hill. Love Tyreek Hill. Love Stephon Diggs on the other side. Stephon Diggs, multiple times I've said Stephon Diggs is my favorite player on a team that I hate in the Buffalo Bills. I love watching Stephon Diggs play football. I love him. But Justin Jefferson might just be the best wide receiver in football. 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Best catch of the season, biggest catch of the season, 4th and 18 on the drive to go tie the game, which they didn't, but in the way they did, based off, well, obviously you guys got to watch, but I'll talk about in a second. Go ahead and grabbing it. And if it wasn't for the corner's assistance, really, I'm pretty sure that ball was incomplete. Because when he goes up there with one hand, he didn't really grab it. He kind of just let it sit on his hand for a little bit. And then as he came down, he was able to wrap his hand around the football. If the corner's 2 hands were there, I don't think he makes that catch. But who cares? He made the catch. It's a results business. Makes the best catch of the season, the biggest catch of the season. They go down and they're stopped. Now, camera angles can only do so much. I think at least one of those, he had to got just the tip in the end zone. He had to have gotten just a little bit into the end zone. But nonetheless, they didn't get it. Josh Allen takes the snap and just looks to push the pile forward. Doesn't ever get a clean grasp on the football. Fumbles it. Minnesota recovers for a touchdown. Josh Allen then leads the Bills down the field, setting up a field goal going into overtime. And you're like, okay, Buffalo Bills in overtime. We've seen this story before. Minnesota gets the ball and holds on to it forever, all the way down to the 3.5-minute mark in overtime, and then eventually kicks the field goal. And what does Josh Allen do? Lead the Bills back down the other side of the field and has them within the 20-yard line, I believe, and then eventually throws the game-winning interception to Patrick Peterson. Where do we start with what that mess was? Let's start with the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings had so much to prove coming into this season. They've always played second place, sometimes third place, sometimes fourth place to Aaron Rodgers in this division. Kirk Cousins has been slandered, dragged through the mud, and at times, very much rightfully so. His record on primetime games is abysmal, and we'll see what happens when there's no longer 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins, when they get into the playoffs and have to play these standalone primetime games. We'll see what happens, but as of now, they're 8-1. Their only loss is to the number 1 team in the league, the Philadelphia Eagles, on primetime. And if these two teams play again, and I have an inkling that they will play again, maybe this game goes a little different. Maybe they game plan for Jalen Hurts a little differently, because Jalen Hurts tore them apart in the first half of that game. Had 2 rushing touchdowns, had almost 300 passing yards in the first half of that Monday Night Football game. They were clearly not in tune with how good Jalen Hurts was when that matchup happened. Now, if they get more time to prepare, they get to watch this MVP candidate season unfold with Jalen Hurts. Maybe things go a little differently. I think these two teams will meet again, that being the Vikings and the Eagles. And they do everything well. We saw Dalvin Cook struggle earlier this year. Bust out a long 81-yard rush for a touchdown. We saw that also against the Dolphins game, where he was held in check for the longest time and he breaks out for a long touchdown. At the end of the day, finishing with 14 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, most of that was on the 81-yard touchdown. But again, it's a results business. He got it done. Look at the receiving game. I mean, Justin Jefferson, what more can I say? If he's not the best wide receiver in football, it might just be a season or two till he is. You could take Devontae Adams, you could take Tyreek Hill, you take Stephon Diggs, I understand that. But if you're saying from this point forward, who would I want as my wide receiver? I'm taking Justin Jefferson. And that's not even a question to me at this point. If I can just have my franchise wide receiver for God knows how long, I'm taking Justin Jefferson. Minnesota Vikings, and on the defensive side of things, they've much improved. They've much improved from their previous few seasons, and I thought they could have done honestly a little bit more in the free agency period to bring guys in. Like they brought in Zadarius Smith over to the Green Bay Packers. I really short sold how well the impact that would be for this defense. I thought they would have gone out and got a Bradley Chubb or another defensive player to add at the trade deadline. They did not. Who knows how that affects them going on? I think they still just need one more defensive piece to this team, but they've got it to work, and now they're 8-1. This team they're a game out of first in the NFC, easily leading their division. You look at second place, Green Bay Packers 4-6. They're really a joke at this point. They won yesterday, which okay, maybe they're going to build some momentum towards the end of the season, like Rodgers is claiming they're going to do. I don't believe it. So Minnesota, I think, is going to run away with this division and have done so in a very respectable and awe-inspiring manner. Then you look over at the other side with the Buffalo Bills, with Josh Allen. I've said time and time again, this team is way too reliant on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 330 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 62 QBR, 78 passer rating, leading rusher yet again, like he has so many times this season, 84 yards on the ground. Devin Singletary, next closest, 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. This team is way overly reliant on Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the league. It's a very close toss-up of the top 3 guys, or the top 5 guys. You have Josh Allen, you have Herbert, you have Mahomes, you Burrow. You have a few guys there at the top that have kind of separated themselves. I would take Josh Allen of the bunch. If I could pick one quarterback in the league, I'm picking Josh Allen. But just because I would do that doesn't mean I would ask him to do every single thing for my football team. And that's what he's got a busted elbow. There's conversations about this time last week that he might have to have Tommy John surgery. That's a 1.5 year recovery time we've seen with baseball pitchers. A 1.5 year recovery time. He's dealing with injury that, at the very least, that idea was floated in the air. It hasn't come to be so far. We'll see how it lasts the rest of the season. But just the fact that idea was out there, that's got to be eye-opening if you're the Buffalo Bills. If you are without, if the Buffalo Bills miss some time with Josh Allen, I don't know how they win games. Case Keenum, he's just a stereotypical backup. We saw him have a good season with the Minnesota Vikings, Minneapolis Miracle, all that good stuff. But that is one of the biggest step downs you could have from Josh Allen, who is the playmaker of playmakers, to Case Keenum, who is Case Keenum. If this team has to go a stretch of games without Josh Allen because he's just putting his body on the line every single play, he needs to start sliding. That's one critique I'll have of him rather than the team, is he needs to stop sliding, or needs to start sliding, excuse me. But this team needs to stop being so reliant on him in the first place. You can't have one man win you a football game. They've tried it. It's been working so far this season. They've now lost 2 games in a row. They've lost 2 games in the division against teams that have gotten to play against Josh Allen now for multiple years. And now against one of the best teams in the league, Minnesota Vikings, at home. Josh Allen wasn't enough. Josh Allen throws the game-sealing interception in the end zone. And then Minnesota Vikings now move to 8-1. Buffalo Bills 6-3 and are now 6th place in the AFC. They are below the New York Jets in the wild card. The Buffalo Bills, you got to take a big look in the mirror and saying, what can we do to help Josh Allen? Not what can Josh Allen do to help us? What can we do to help Josh Allen? Trade deadline is gone now. You miss your opportunity to go add a wide receiver to this team. You're stuck with what you got. Stephon Diggs, great player. Fantastic. No question marks about him. 12 catches, 128 yards. Gabe Davis, who had been irrelevant the last few weeks. Shout out to him helping me lose my last few games in fantasy football, and I decided to bench him, and this is what happens. It'd be like that sometimes. Gabe Davis finally has a better game. 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. But there's not a single consistent player outside of Stephon Diggs in the passing game, in the running game. Devin Singletary got in the end zone twice, but averaged 3.5 yards a carry, 47 yards. James Cook, 22 yards. Duke Johnson was activated, 4 yards. This team is going to cost them. I have a hard time at this point saying the Bills are still the Super Bowl favorites. I think I have to go with the Chiefs at this point. A Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl seems very realistic to me at this point, and I do think the Chiefs would come up on top between those two teams. Their experience, I love Hurts, but I like Mahomes a lot better. I can't say anymore that the Bills are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They're still up there. They still probably will win the AFC East. They have to do some work now. Their destiny is no longer in their control. They do have to have some help, but the Jets need to lose a game or two. Dolphins need to lose a game or two. More specifically, need to lose against the Bills. But their destiny is no longer in their control. There is a very strong possibility that they end up as a wild card. I don't think that happens. I think they do eventually get things together enough to win the division, but they're not going to have a bye. I highly doubt they're going to end up with the number 1 overall seed. So that means they're going to have to play one of the Miami Dolphins. Going to have to play one of the Los Angeles Chargers, the Bengals, the Jets, who already beat them once this year. The Patriots are now in the playoffs, I think it stands. Bill Belichick, it's great at game planning against specific players. If you have to play the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Jets, the Patriots, I think the Bills are better than every single one of those teams, but I'd rather try to get the bye. And now you also have to worry about whether you can have a home playoff game in the first place. This was a fantastic game. So many takeaways from this. Minnesota Vikings winning 33-30. Vikings, number 2 seed in the NFC, trying to clutch at the Eagles' top spot. And on the other side, the Buffalo Bills falling from the number 2 seed all the way down to the number 6 seed. Arguably best game of the season so far up to this point.